Thank you for joining us for this episode of Who Does She Think She Is? Audacious Financial Journeys with Tremendous Black Women. I'm Mele Miller, 30-year bank exec that you wish has always been your friend. Who does she think she is? Today, I'm thrilled to bring on board a very special guest to the show. Chanise Robinson is joining us here today, and I am thrilled for her insights and to hear her story. Her perspective is offered from someone who has a depth of experience with DEI, diversity vendor management, with project management, with systems programs, and platform creations with some of the largest and most interesting institutions across the country. Essence, Expedia, DoorDash, just a few, no big deal. Big time up in here. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yay. Thank you for joining us. I'm
Thank
so
you for having
excited.
Me. I appreciate it.
I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable, but I kind of hope I did.
I'm kind of like, okay, bio.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say my bio like that, so I appreciate it.
Let's just dive right in. So how does it make you feel to hear your accolades in an introduction that you absolutely deserve?
Man, it feels good because I think a lot of times I'm working through what I want to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. Like you accomplish something and then you're like, but I got to go to the next. I got to do the next thing. And so I feel like what I've done has been really good, but I'm like, okay, what does the next year, 2 years, 5 years look like? So it feels good to be reminded of all the accomplishments. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're very, very impressive.
You.
Your journeys have been a pretty incredible one. You have achieved a lot. Your academic career alone is impressive. Can you share some of the highlights, some of the things that stand out to you on your journey to get to this position that you're at now?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I like to talk about the fact that I'm first generation college. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 15 and stayed with my great aunt, right? So kind of like put myself through the rest of high school. And sophomore year of high school, I had a 1.5 GPA. So I talk about that often because I think I want people to understand that just because you came from a rough background or you had a hard time doesn't mean you can't turn that around.
Right.
So junior, senior year, I think I got 4.0s both years.
What? So you went from 1.5 to 4.0?
Yeah, 4.0 because I
feel like
I wanted to go to college.
That slowly for impact. You said, I'm going to college, so I'm going to get you what you need.
Yeah, exactly. So applied to University of Washington with a 2.7, and then obviously it became a cumulative GPA of 2.9 by the time I graduated. But I got accepted to University of Washington the year that valedictorians got denied. The biggest thing that I told myself when I got accepted to college was that I never want to be disqualified on paper ever again, or at least put myself in that position. And so, college, I worked really hard. I think it was like a 3.9 graduating out of University of Washington, and then finally moved to LA, came here to get my master's at USC. So that was really cool. School now is like a small part of my overall kind of story, but I started off in nonprofit, really working with military veterans to get them placed in jobs in the Southern California region. That taught me a lot about business development. It taught me a lot about D&I work. At the time, I really hated my job, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. But only honesty here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
I definitely hated the job. And I remember telling God, like, I want to leave. And he's like, you're so busy trying to get out of an environment I'm trying to teach you something from. And so that same information, knowledge, and all of the skills that I developed then is what I actually use now for my own business out of office. It's all the stuff that I ended up leveraging when I got to Snapchat, Essence, right? Now I'm at Expedia and all the other like kind of work that I've done in between. So it's really cool to just kind of see like how the process has helped grow and shape me in a way that I probably wouldn't have thought, even going into University of Washington or moving to LA 9 years ago. So it's been a ride. I'll say that.
Well, I'm in awe because I have to say, University of Washington is not an easy school to get into, nor is it easy when you get there. It is a state school. It is a strong state school.
Yeah.
Their programs are some of the top in the country. And then to transition from University of Washington, a top state school, to USC, also a very strong school. And then you're like, oh, and I just started my company. I feel like we should slow down and unpack some of that.
Yes.
For those that are listening and are thinking to themselves, boy, she made that sound easy. You had mentioned that job that you were in, you hated it.
Yeah.
How did you land there?
Yeah. All of the jobs that I have gotten, I have never applied to. That's right.
Okay, that is interesting.
So USC, I actually was in a master's of social work role, or I guess program.
Okay.
And I think it's always important to be kind to people because you never know who is going to have to tap you on the shoulder later on. And so when I was graduating, a woman that was in the program with me and literally in the same classes as me emailed the career services and said, hey, we're looking for a role or somebody to come fill this business development associate position at the company. And they sent it over. I was like, hey, I'm interested. So I sent them my resume. They interviewed me. I think the interview process took about a month and a half, 2 months. It took a while.
Yeah.
So much so to where I had actually accepted another role. I don't talk about this often. I worked at Northwestern Mutual for 2 weeks.
Okay. That's a very different vibe.
Yeah, I worked there for 2 weeks. I was supposed to be like the EA to the COO. I was also doing stuff of like taking people's financial, packages and putting stuff together for their portfolio. I was also checking people in at the front desk. I kind of was like doing all the things for the office, and I wasn't getting paid. My pay was like $30,000 for the year before taxes. And I remember being like, hey, I need more money. They're like, we can't give it to you. And then the other nonprofit came through and was like, hey, actually, we want to give you this job opportunity. That was really tough because I think my first job out of college, being like, I accepted this position and now I need to quit. And I don't want to burn bridges, but I need to quit because I need to do what's best for me financially because I won't make it if I don't.
Hey, you just nailed it right there. What's best for you?
Yeah.
We're all replaceable at larger organizations.
I learned.
So what would you say the most compelling reason was to shift? Was it the compensation alone?
It was compensation, but I think it was also about the work, right? I saw myself really doing more of the business development work that I was doing at the nonprofit than the stuff that I was doing at Northwestern Mutual. I do think that Northwestern Mutual taught me a lot about financial literacy and even just, how do you leverage life insurance, right? To be able to have a savings plan, and what's the difference between short-term and long-term life insurance, and how does that
my
impact?
language here? What are you trying to do to me? Talking money and stuff.
Right.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You absorbed some content and some information and you kept rolling with it. These roles that you've served in, that you've shown up and understood the assignment and delivered, sometimes it doesn't matter how you show up or what you bring to the table. There are still going to be those that look at you and you know the look. Who does she think she is? Coming in here, taking up space.
Yeah.
Shouldn't belong here. Can you think of an opportunity or a time when that was very real?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of my career, I've had a lot of audacity. And I've had to have a lot of audacity in order to navigate. But I think specifically...
Why? Why have you had to have a lot of audacity?
I think you kind of have to, you got to know your worth. But you also have to be able to perform at the level that you think you're worth.
Okay, say that again, please. So serious.
That's the first piece, right? And I think, so when I got into Snapchat, when I was like 24, so very young, very excited to be in tech industry because that's the sexy, shiny thing to be a part of. I kind of was a little under-leveled, if I'm being honest, but I came in humble, like, hey, I'm coming in as a contractor. I just want to get full-time conversion. Yeah. And so they said, oh, just accept this role, take this money, and if you prove yourself, we'll convert you into a full-time employee. We'll let you get on the diversity team, because I had came in as a recruiter. So 3 months into my contract, Meta, now that we know now, right? Meta actually owns a company called Oculus, and it's their AR VR company. Oculus had reached out to me to interview, and I interviewed thinking like, okay, let me just take the interview, like exercise my skills, not knowing I was going to get the position. They got back to me 2 weeks, offered me $150,000. It was
what? And you were 24. And how big of a financial leap was that from your prior income?
At Snapchat, I was making like $82,000, and I was
almost double.
Oh, I gotta take it, no brainer. So I accept the role. I go into Snap with my manager to put in my 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm like stuttering. It's because it was an uncomfortable breakup. And so I
feel like you've done this before because you went straight to the uncomfortable breakup. That's a different show, but I still want to hear the story. Okay, please continue.
So I sit down and I start stuttering, and I'm like, hey, so I got something to tell you, and just kind of explaining to her why I even took the interview in the first place.
Right.
She didn't really actually take the breakup. She was like, oh, okay, so what are you doing? So she started asking more questions like, well, what does the office look like? Well, how many people are going to be on your team? She was collecting data, and then she went back to her manager, and they started sending people to put time on my calendar, just pretty much being like, are you sure you want to leave? Like, well, what do you need in order to stay? What can we do? We can't match the salary. But at the time, it sounded like they were really interested and committed to keeping me. And my manager had even had a conversation of what will it take in order for you to stay? Okay. And my response to her was, if it's not about money, it has to be about my career trajectory. And I don't want to be in recruiting anymore. I want to be on the diversity team. And I made that clear. And she was like, oh, that's what you want? We can get you that. If you stay, I'll make sure you get on the team. I ended up pulling out of the Meta offer. I promise you, I could not sleep for 2 weeks. My heart was beating fast. Like, you know what I mean? Just because I had so much anxiety of like, what were you thinking? You literally turned down double your salary. But I told myself that it would be worth it in the long run. And I think that it has been one of the best no's that I've ever given.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the term total compensation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As a person who's done recruiting.
Were you familiar with total compensation back then?
Yeah, because when you came in, when I came in as a recruiter sourcer, I had to learn that, right?
Yeah.
So it was base salary. We had equity, unlimited PTO.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I'm asking you that because there might be folks out there listening to us who can't get past the double your salary, are trying to understand and even unpack, well, what contributed to that decision? So let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
Where did that no take you?
I think where I am today.
Yes. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah. But the note took me they promoted me a few months later, but they didn't give me the salary that I really thought I wanted. The audacity actually came after they promoted me. And I felt like the compensation was quite disrespectful, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a recruiter that was 3 levels above me. She went to go take medical leave and was gone for a while. But she's like, I know you can do this. You've been really sharp. Prove to the directors and people that you can do this. I think this will position you in a great light. Bet. Took over her role, was hiring in literally directors, VPs, Black and Latinx specific at Snapchat, and literally clearing offers in like 2-3 weeks. Oh, this girl is like, good. We want to offer you a promotion. So they promote me. You want to know what the raise was?
Of course I do, but I kind of don't, just because the way you're smiling at me right now. Please tell me.
Raise was $2 an hour.
Stop it right now.
When the woman who I knew at the time was over me, whose position I had taken on, she was making $135,000 at the time.
Okay. I'm hearing a nod towards that pay equity.
Yeah.
I know you said something.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on.
Is my name Chanise? Because
absolutely. It sure is. And you led with audacity. So let me hear it.
Yeah. So they shared the salary with me and I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate, your team honoring the work that I've done. I know a lot when it comes to calibrations. It's not just your manager that is advocating for you to get promoted or to raise. They have to present it to all of the HRBPs, the directors, and they have to agree to it. Yeah. So I did thank them for that. But I also told them, given the fact that I turned down the offer from Meta and we had this conversation, I was expecting more compensation. And to be honest, if this is what I have to look forward to in future pay raises or promotions, I don't feel as motivated to work as hard as I have been. And because of that, I feel like I deserve more. So my manager was like, you're right, but I don't make those decisions. I can't raise the pay. So you got to go talk to the higher ups. I said, so who's the next person?
Ooh, let me pause you right there. She told me to go advocate for myself.
Yeah.
And she stepped aside to let you walk that path alone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes hard workers only get rewarded with more hard work. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, you're a great high performer, so we can trust you to do more, but we're not going to give you more in regards to compensation. And so that literally discourages people from working hard. And so
it does. It does. Very much so.
Yeah.
What type of advice do you wish you had received? If you were you now, talking to you back then.
Yeah.
And what's the best advice you've actually ever received?
Honestly, I do think my manager was supportive. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, but also make sure you bring executives and sponsors along for the ride with you.
Why?
Because that's how you become effective.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Having those allies that have weight and a little bit of bass to their voice, right? They command larger budgets, authority, longer careers, what have you. They can co-sign on those things.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah. Another piece of advice, because somebody gave this to me, and I thought it was great. The worst thing you can get is a no, and you already had a no before you asked because you didn't try, right? So that means that if I come to you, do you want to go get dinner? And you say no, that's okay, because we already didn't have plans to go get dinner.
It's an automatic no if you don't ask.
Exactly.
Is that okay? Yes,
exactly.
We're on the same page.
And so when it comes to pay equity or advocating for yourself, I think you should at least just shoot the shot and for whatever, like insert whatever scenario, have the audacity to ask and you'll have the audacity to receive.
How do you think that being a Black woman has impacted your earnings potential?
Wow. What a question.
I know that one came out of nowhere, but we are sitting here talking about this compensation navigation process at really just sensitive points in your career.
I think one, I had a lack of knowledge of how to negotiate, if I'm being honest, coming into, the tech space initially.
Yes.
And so there's the lack of knowledge of how to negotiate. And then there's also the fact that you are a Black woman. And then sometimes people just think you should be happy to be here. And so you have to navigate that because there is a level of like, I want to be humble and I am happy to be here. But once again, I also know the worth and I can perform at the level of the worth. And if you feel like you can't give me the compensation now, then we need to be having a conversation when I come in immediately about what does the trajectory look like for me to get to where I want to be and what's the time frame.
Ooh, I love that.
Right.
You're just there. Yes, you're there. This is a level of clarity that we don't get to hear a lot.
Yeah.
This is not a public or a comfortable conversation for so many. It's just, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're getting closer. It's conversations like this that are public, where people are listening, where they're reacting and responding and identifying to your experience.
Yeah.
Much like you, I've been on both sides. I've been the one who's had to lead layoffs. I've been the one to help shape new roles and jobs and create and advocate for myself and be in a position to be paid less when doing more.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to stay our reality, but it's certainly a part of the journey.
Yeah.
I am excited to learn more about out of office.
Yes.
Because every time I'm on LinkedIn or somewhere and I see out of office, it immediately makes me feel jealous.
Ooh.
It's somebody else's out of office message and not mine.
Oh.
Why am I still here? Why haven't I had a vacation in a year, 2 years, fill in the blank?
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at the person. I'm jealous at the practice.
Yeah.
So tell me about what motivated Out of Office as the name and all the ways that you deliver to that balanced, intentional experience.
Yeah. I do think that the calling for me is building community. I think it's sharing my story or information or making sure that people get the knowledge and information and access to the stuff they need in order to be successful. And that happens in different forms. So to answer your question, Out of Office is one of the main forms that I have exercised my calling in order to serve other people, right? And so the idea came when I was working at the nonprofit. So we're going to circle all the way back. And I was servicing military veterans. I would build relationships with companies like Disney, Fox, you name it, and say, hey, are you looking to hire military veterans? If so, we would love to put together programming and I will be in charge of putting together all the programming. All I need you to do is let us use your office space and pay for food and drinks. And we'll bring the people to hear more about what it means to be at this company or work at this company. So I was learning the formula of Out of Office without even knowing it. And after some time of doing it, I told myself, why don't you do this for your own community, right? Because one, I'm still first generation college. I'm still trying to learn how to navigate corporate spaces. And there's a lot of access to information that I needed. But I also was like, I know I'm not the only one that wants to learn this. So let me build the community. Let me build up my network and make it fun. I think the thing about corporate that sometimes, if I'm being honest, annoys me is that they don't know how to be sexy. They don't know how to they don't know how to,
I have no idea what you're talking about. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, let's do this panel discussion and fireside chat. And it's like, okay, cool. But I was doing panel discussions and fireside chats, and then I had a DJ, and then I had an open bar, and it would turn into a party.
Oh, that's a whole different experience.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And then people are like, oh,
as I raise my glass to my lips,
right.
I'm like, let me get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
That sounds
so
awesome.
we started doing those events, and it was $25 tickets at the door. People would come. They knew they had tacos. They had open bar. They would learn about a subject matter, and then we would party and hang out afterwards.
That
and I was
is
like,
way more fun.
cracking. If anybody uses that term anymore. You're from Seattle, or you lived in Seattle.
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes.
And so I was like, how do I develop a community of folks across different companies to really retain us, right? And to be able to still build that community. And then once again, service the things that we care about, whether it is learning from each other, where it's happy hours, whether it's product and brand marketing campaigns that we can be a part of, like all of those things we do. And so that's where Out of Office was birthed. I was like, yo, we outside, I'm gonna do something, I'll bring everybody together, we out the office. And that's literally how the birth of that came.
What type of impact are you hoping to create in the event planning space and the experience space for our community?
Really, it's all about bridging the gap between culture and corporations. And that can be whether it's recruiting, retention, product inclusion, because there's so many people that are developing products and we are not in mind when they are developing it, especially now with this AI and all of the stuff that's happening. So that's another thing. And then brand marketing. So that's the overarching mission. Now, from an impact perspective, I hope to be as big as an Essence one day.
I have no doubt. How much brand fraud do you think is taking place right now, where everything that is being put out demonstrates a very inclusive and dynamic workforce, when in reality, it's not happening?
Yeah, it isn't. And we see that especially with all of the D&I budgets being cut. I'm sure you probably are familiar with what's happening with the Fearless Fund right now. And, the Supreme Court has ruled against people being able to give money to Black businesses specifically. It is tough, and I'm fundraising. So we have a summit that we do every year. Last year we did a summit at Amazon. We had Miss Tina Knowles come, so I got a chance to interview her. The goal of fundraising is high, and I'm speaking to existence that the money is coming, but it's been tough to fundraise up until this point. When last year, this time, I had $100,000 already locked in for sponsorships. So the brand fraud is some people really aren't about what they said they were about when they made commitments in 2020. They kind of just rode the wave. And then there are other people that do care about it, but their budget is being cut from higher up. And so it's kind of, it's a little tough to navigate. And I think the biggest thing is, how do we create stuff that is not necessarily puppet mastered by corporations? Right. Because if they decide it's not a priority anymore, it gets cut. So we kind of have to be the people that orchestrate it within the community. So
you've raised hundreds and thousands of dollars in fundraising, in capital campaigns. That's a gift. What's your secret? How do you approach that? The big ask.
I literally joke that I am a professional beggar. I asked for money earlier today. I ask for money almost every day, within like sponsorship packages. Yeah. And this is what we can do. But I don't mind asking. I'm like, hey, $100,000 and this is what we're looking for and whatever. So the formula is kind of making sure, one, can you deliver on what you're saying you can deliver on, right? And what is the value proposition? So having your deck together, having the why of why individuals should be a part of it, and then how you can service brands individually, because they kind of want to know, how is this different than what somebody else is doing? And the other secret sauce is really doing the work and inviting people to come and witness the work. That's how you get people on board. I'm always reference scripture, paraphrasing, but there's a scripture that says, like, your gifts will make room for you. And the thing that I think about with this is, in order for there to be room, you got to operate the gift.
So you are building a movement, and then you ask,
right,
where does that capital go? How do you use it? How do you apply it?
Now, Lord have mercy. So the capital goes to, honestly, all the expenses for the company, right? So the summit, we raised $150,000, but you got talent fees, and Amazon, they sponsored the space, but there was the performance, there was building out the production of it, all of that stuff. I did make money from it, but I surely didn't clear $150K, right? And so when you're an entrepreneur, you got to understand that you got to put away money for taxes.
Thank you for saying that.
Because that's a thing.
Are there other little financial nuggets that you learned and picked up along the way as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's important for you to have an accountant.
Oh, heavens.
A financial team that can help you really make sure your books are in order. It's important for you to have a specific account and credit card or debit card for the business, and you're not utilizing it for other stuff.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the year, or whenever you file your taxes, you got to have all of that stuff documented, right? Because the IRS will come after you.
They will. They will. As an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, they're thinking that it all goes together. Well, yes, and.
Yes, and.
What other major life lessons and business lessons and balance lessons did you pick up along the journey as an entrepreneur? Because it is extremely demanding.
Yeah. I mean, I am a business.
You are a business.
I am a business. I am the business, right? And so when we talk about commingling personal and professional, definitely keep the account separate, but understand you need an LLC or whatever kind of corporation you're going to have in order to be able to write stuff off. And people aren't thinking about that. So they're like, oh yeah, I've just spent all this money. I'm like, but you've been going on business trips and you go on a trip and you talk about business. That's a write-off.
It is.
Right? You're going to these dinners and you're having conversations around partnerships. That's a write-off. So as long as you're being honest about your write-offs, you should be able to write off somewhat of your lifestyle if your lifestyle is your business.
Correct.
Yeah.
What are some of the sacrifices that you've had to make along the way?
Was at Snapchat for 3.5 years, was on the D&I team, loved that team for 2 years. And because of the work that I was doing with Out of Office, the venture capital team actually came to me and said, yo, we love what you're doing. We want you to come move to our team so you can start community for founders here. Because they had an accelerator program. I moved. 3 months later, that team got dissolved in a layoff. That's how I ended up getting laid off.
Wow.
And so that was like, oh man, Lord, why would you move me to a place that you knew was about to be eliminated? He was trying to push me into doing something way bigger than what I think I would have had audacity to do at that particular time.
So he is pushing you towards even more audacious goals and dreams. And I know you're about to tell me what it is.
I got a job at DoorDash and within a month, I'm like, oh, it's cool. I'm taking my severance. I'm in Miami going crazy. I got tables, I got bottles, I'm good because I know I have money coming. So I get to DoorDash and there for 3 weeks, they do a company layoff. Roles eliminated in the layoff. I said, Lord.
Oh, goodness. You're kidding.
Back to back. I said, oh, this is serious.
Tech and banking. Layoff champions. They know how to do it.
You hear about layoffs and all of the things, but I had no idea that you could be good at your job. You could have just gotten promoted and have done nothing wrong and wake up one day with no job.
What would you tell younger you right now?
I think like the basic stuff is obviously like have a savings account. You have your emergency fund, right? Then you have whatever your secondary account is going to be, whether it's traveling, vacation, leisure, whatever, like put it into a bucket, but then also figure out a way to make your money work for you.
So you see this as the smile on my face right now because you are speaking my language and I am so thrilled that you're sharing this. It's different when it comes from me. Yeah. I sound like everyone's mom. Tell me more about this emergency fund.
Emergency fund.
Speak to me.
It should be. Emergency fund should be at least 6 months to a year of your lifestyle, what it takes in order to live. So if it's your car note, your apartment, maybe food, electricity, all of it, think about that, put it into a budget, and then say, okay, what does it take for me to be able to afford this for the next 6 months to a year if I need runway for whatever reason?
Exactly.
That's super important.
Thank you for breaking that down.
Yeah.
There are a lot of families out there that can't do 6 months to a year.
Absolutely.
And that is okay, but you can work towards
start
it.
Something.
And start at least around 3 months.
Exactly.
Because anything can happen and we do not control the entire economy.
Yeah.
I love that you shared that.
My mom also put me onto something, and I think it might have been like David Ramsey or somebody that talks about the snowball effect. And it's this idea of like pay something off, and then once you pay that off, now you contribute the money that you would have paid that bill to another maybe savings account or another, payment of debt. I don't have a car like me. I'm not keeping up with the Joneses. As much as I want a Jeep Wrangler, and I promise you, I want my—
Is that your dream vehicle?
I want my $75,000, $100,000 car. I want it wrapped. I want to get it customized. Every time I see a Jeep Wrangler on the street, I'm like, man, I wish this was mine. But I have a Honda Civic 2016. I've paid my car off, and my overhead is low.
That was my first car.
So the money that I would use for my car note now goes to other stuff that I'm trying to do. I keep my overhead low because I like my lifestyle to be high. I like to be, first class in Emirates, going to the Maldives.
I have to tell you, the Maldives is beautiful, and I am even more impressed by your strategy and your foresight and the awareness that what you're driving versus the experience that you get to have carries a different type of value in your value metrics.
Yeah.
Rich is different for everyone.
Exactly.
Just like success is different for everyone.
Exactly.
So that leads me to my next question. How do you balance paying yourself and funding your company? Ooh. Even that one hurt for me to say out loud.
I was the person who didn't take my own advice. So all of this financial advice that I knew it, but I didn't do it.
Get yourself a drink because, yes, that is serious business. That is real entrepreneur talk right there, though. You know that you cannot do everything to be successful, and you're on a limited budget. And you've made a commitment on the outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On the delivery of said program or service.
Yeah. My money sustained me for a while from some of the projects and stuff. And then after, I want to say probably December of last year, I said, okay, Lord, the runway is out. Because bills still got to get paid. And so I actually had to dip into my 401k, which is something I never wanted to do because I get the tax penalty and all of the stuff that comes with. But I was like, okay, girl, when you get this next job, allocate your, yeah, exactly.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you could choose one company or celebrity to collaborate with, your dream collaboration, right? Bring it. What would it be? Who would it be?
Just one?
I mean, let's start there. If it's like a 3-entity collaboration, then, if that's the vision, I'm not trying to.
So I've always said 3.
Okay.
3 women, but if I had to pick one out of the 3, I'm going to say, damn, this is hard, but I'm going to say Issa Rae.
Oh, yes. Same.
But the 3 are actually
where are the 3?
Issa Rae, Rihanna, Oprah. Issa Rae has the community influence and understanding of the culture. Rihanna just fly, fashion, also a billionaire, and then Oprah has like the influence and the thought partnership and just kind of the wisdom and knowledge of how things come together. So I think those 3 would be like the trifecta.
I love that you say that because they bring together such a different type of energy and vibe. And yet what you're looking at is 3 incredibly audacious, brilliant businesswomen who have built empires around their unique approach to this culture, to characterizing this culture.
Yeah.
Whew. You said Issa Rae, Oprah,
and Rihanna.
Come on. What are you reading my diary or something?
Nah, look.
Can I be number 4? Can I be in there somewhere?
Come on.
What is the next big audacious goal on the horizon?
Ooh, so I verticalized my company to
vertical integration.
Look, we got development, we have social experiences, and then music. We are doing a lot of music concerts and activations this year. So we actually have a concert and showcase in Atlanta next week, and then we're doing something with WME Golden Voice and at the Novo for BET Weekend.
Ooh, that's awesome.
My goal is like, how do we take this to a festival level, or how do we do like music showcases internationally? So that's one part of a bigger goal. But I think I told you, like, when you think about Essence, like truly, there's Essence Ventures. So they have the capital, they have the festivals and the conference, they have the music. All of that stuff is like, that's the goal that we're trying to get to.
It's an incredible business model, but I'm convinced that you can deliver.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely convinced.
Thank you.
An ambition like yours, don't rest often. How do you rest, not just physically, mentally, even financially?
Great question. I'm not really good at resting because I feel like you gotta grind, you gotta get it. But I've intentionally actually developed a hobby. So I am in a kickball league.
You know what? I was certain you're gonna say pickleball, but kickball?
I am in a kickball league. I don't talk about work. We hang out, we kick it. Last week we went and did the kickball game, and then we went to karaoke afterwards. So when it comes to like rest and relaxation, just making time for that, and also to hang out with my friends and just have a good time. I try to really be intentional about that. From a financial standpoint, I think we are still trying to recover from being double laid off and all of the things. So not quite there yet.
She said double laid off and all the things.
Yeah,
That's
I was
real.
in my Job season.
Hey.
Car got stolen. It was so much going on.
You know, it's funny. It doesn't matter how great you're doing in life. You can get struck down real fast.
Life will humble you.
Whew.
What I would like to do is go on vacation very soon.
Now we're going to see. Vacation that you had?
So I did Costa Rica for my birthday in September.
Okay.
I was very intentional about that. I had 10 people come out. I had just turned 30. So it was a big milestone. Yeah. We had just finished the summit. So I was like on cloud 9. My old self, before I got laid off, would be out of the country like once every 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I was outside.
See, I'm doing it wrong.
You're doing it right, because I ain't had no savings.
I'm teasing. I have children, and they need to eat and stuff. So anyway.
Yeah. So I think if I can get back to at least going and doing something quarterly, it doesn't always have to be out of the country, but some type of rest and relaxation quarterly after I've met certain goals, that's what I would try to aim for.
I like that. I like that you're giving yourself benchmarks based on when it's financially feasible, professionally feasible. What other ways do you rest and recover outside of vacations? What else? And kickball. Excuse me. Kickball league.
Get my nails done. I watch TV.
Hey.
It's funny because some people that know me, they're like, I didn't take you as somebody who actually like watched TV intentionally. And I'm very intentional about like, yo, my show is on. Like yesterday, I went to my friend's house and we did a watch party for the new Ghost season that just came out. I was going to say,
you better tell us. You better name drop that show. Ghost is hilarious.
Yes, I love it.
Lightning question on Ghost. We all have our favorite character. Who's yours?
Kane. I know. Kane is fine. I know you're looking at me crazy, but he crazy and I like him. So that
noted. Okay, noted.
That is my favorite character there. For Raising Kanan, I would say Raquel.
I feel it. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. It tracks.
It's a little toxic.
I think toxic is just a sneeze away from acceptable. Like, it just depends on who your audience is. You got to know your audience.
Exactly.
We started this conversation with who does she think she is? And to close it out, I'm going to ask you to share with us who you know you are.
Ooh, who do I know I am? Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I am a businesswoman, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm more importantly a child of God operating in her calling.
Yes.
I am somebody who was building community, who was making impact and plans to make impact on an international level, much larger than what I can do with just my own hands and resources. So that's who I am, is somebody who's just moving and operating. And the gift's not on me, it's in me. Mm. And so because of that, no matter where I work or what I do, I'll always be operating in that. So that's who I am.
I'm going to tell you something that so few people have ever told me in my life, and I wish I had heard it more because it would have built a very different Mele. And that is, I believe you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Who Does She Think She Is? I'm Mele Miller, the host, 30-year bank exec, and someone who is interested in changing the money culture in America and knows exactly where to start.